Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Adrian Montgomery. I'm joined today by Donna Krizik, and we also have Sarita Mitchell on the line with us, and we're going to be talking about partner programs and how 8 ways a smaller VAR can grow in today's ERP software market. So thank you, Donna, for joining, and Sarita. We have a couple introductions here. So Donna, you have your BS from Roosevelt in business and marketing. You've been working for a smaller VAR in the past for 5 years, and that VAR was acquired by Crestwood, and you have 7 years of evolving experience with VARs and developing marketing strategy and building a marketing engine and to support all the activities that go around that. And your current role is Director of Partner Marketing and Programs at Acumatica, and you currently help 300 plus partners go to market and improve marketing skills and strategies. So thank you for being here with me. You have such great insight because of your day-to-day conversations with everyone.
Thanks, Adrian.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And for myself, I have a BA from California State University, Fullerton. I got my communications degree with an advertising emphasis, and I had 2 years sales management experience at Click Software, and that was an enhancement that was a bolt-on for field service scheduling. And then from there, I went over to Sage Software, and I was a partner account management for 5 years. And then from there, I went and worked for a small growing VAR similar to Donna, to Rosa Mangold Consulting, in a sales and marketing role. And then from there, I started my own company and have been doing that for the past 10 years, where I got HubSpot certified in 2009. So I've been offering HubSpot, implementing, supporting, training partners in HubSpot and all the HubSpot inbound marketing principles that go behind that for the last 10 years. And right now, I'm the managing partner over at ERP VAR, and we help VARs like yourselves and ISVs grow your business. So thank you again, everybody, for joining us. We're going to get started here with introduction. So what we're really trying to do here is begin with the end in mind. So when you're jump-starting your ERP practice, or you have your existing ERP practice and you're just wondering, what to focus on, how to gain more business and grow, you want to begin with that end in mind. And we've really developed an understanding over at ERP VAR that those partners that have the vertical focus when they set up their practices, they really understand the pains of that vertical market, and they develop a strategy that can really resonate with that vertical market. So Donna, I wondered, if you might just be able to help us understand, some of the partners that you're working with and how they've helped vertical markets, and that's kind of where you might start off, or what your thoughts were along those lines.
Sure. So I was just telling Adrian before, we're at workshops right now in Denver for a bunch of our new partners, and we're teaching them really about 21st century marketing and being a 21st century VAR. And one of the big deals, the big messages that we've got here is, it's no longer okay to be horizontal. In order to differentiate yourself, you're going to need to go vertical, and where we suggest you start is with your existing customer base, and what have you done for an industry that's unique or different, and then we can take that and we can help you. It doesn't mean that you're excluding the rest of the world. You can still take any business you want that comes to your door, and you can still pursue any business you want, but we ask you to focus and dedicate some deliberate action towards that vertical that you already have some knowledge, some intellectual property around, and some experience. Because these days the buyer is so sophisticated, they know if you are just talking fluff. They know if you don't know their industry. So the more you can speak to that, and the more you have already spoken, you have examples and success stories, the easier and shorter your sales cycle is going to be.
And also, how important do you see the parallel between the ERP portfolio of a partner and the pain of their ideal customer? I thought you had some enlightening comments on that when it comes to, you know, the ERP that they're representing and those pains of the customer, and that, you know, if they look at success stories on the developer website and understand how they've actually helped those vertical industries, how can that help them in winning new business? It's because I think that you had made some comments to me in the past about how, you know, Acumatica addresses really well some of the pains of vertical industries, and, you know, it might not be a fit for everything. So
right, no, and that's a good point. We were in one of the classes here in Denver this week. One of the partners asked us, was like, you know, what we could really use is a cheat sheet that would show us, you know, where does Acumatica play really well? And I think that everybody who's selling a solution needs to know that. And for, you know, there's one solution cannot do everything. They all do the basics the same, but when you start to get specialized and go down a vertical path, they're going to have special needs. And some solutions have those special needs rolled into the product out of the box, some don't. So for Acumatica, we play really well in durable goods distribution, and that's where we're kind of focusing our beginning partners to, because it's a vertical, but it's also a wide vertical. So there's a lot of opportunity there, and you're not going to be struggling to find companies that fit that model. We also do really well in e-commerce. We're doing great things in manufacturing and field services. And then we launched our construction edition a little over a year ago, and it is going like gangbusters. So we've got some real strong verticals that the product handles out of the box. And that's a huge selling point for most people, because the word integration sometimes can be a negative connotation to it, that, oh, I'm going to have to go through that, or a customization or something like that. But there's a lot of feature functionality, and we just launched our R2, and we're coming up in January on our summit. So we'll be announcing another new version there with more bells and whistles and more things that can address these industry features that people are going to want.
And then also, you know, for a VAR that might just be getting their ERP practice started or is venturing into other vertical markets, it's important to understand those industry events that are occurring locally and maybe further away that you can target and attend, or perhaps sponsor. So budgeting for these events is crucial to make sure you can execute on your plan, and following through that plan and that commitment is even more important.
Yeah, and we have a lot of people that will come to us and say, hey, oh, I found this event, should I go to it? And I would say you should go about it the other way around, and you should look to your customer base and the happy customers that you have in your industry that you're looking to focus on. Ask them where they go. What trade journals do they read? What events do they attend? What do they think has real value? And have them serve as your guide to take you to that event. And you're already way ahead of the game if you've got a warm introduction and a success story to tell while you're there. So if I could change anything about how the channel approaches trade shows, that would be where I would start.
And then the Acumatica website has a huge amount of content that you can extract from in regard to success stories and vertical success stories, the problems that individuals and vertical industries have solved for. And you can just build your content plan from reading those success stories, and then also industry plan. And when you do go to those vertical events, you can have those discussions and understanding on, you know, where you might fit from another customer's standpoint.
Yeah, we add them all the time. We have we had 2 come across my desk this week, brand new case studies. So
awesome. I know you guys are one of the fastest, if not the fastest growing cloud ERP out there.
We are.
So, but you're getting new customers all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So the recommendation is to go online and search for, once you've identified that vertical market, go online and search for those industry enthusiast publications that Donna was just referring to. Look for those compliance events, like, you know, for example, in the healthcare industry, maybe there's some local HIPAA training events where you can attend those HIPAA training events and start having those discussions with those healthcare customers that you want to acquire, and understand what their problems are as far as compliance, how crucial it is for them to speed up their monthly close. So just knowing, you know, the problems that it sounds like common sense, but building that plan and executing that plan is a whole nother challenge, and focusing and committing. So just to reiterate that. So, you know, if it's healthcare, then you might want to, you know, look for industry compliance events. There's lots of them for healthcare, but all kinds of industries have compliance, like revenue recognition, and for software companies, for wealth management, they have their own events that they hold. And look for those people who should attend, those CFOs, controllers, VPs of finance, financial managers, internal auditors, tax accountants, anybody in accounting really, internal control, public accountants, educators in that particular industry will attend those industry enthusiast events. And you want to understand from those events the latest accounting changes and key areas of focus for those events. Recognize those timelines and key factors that are important to those verticals. And then once you understand all of that, and you might have so much experience in the vertical already that it's really important that you establish your key differentiators on your website that parallel those kinds of events and those kinds of verticals, and build your website design, content creation, content promotion, measurement, all around those problems. And Donna, wondered if you might have some insight along those lines.
So I do have some content. I think that's a little later in the presentation. So, but absolutely on differentiating, you know, writing your content and your website. Your website is really, you know, you used to talk about the face of the organization back in the day was the receptionist, the person who made the first impression. Well, these days there's probably an auto attendant on a phone line that's your receptionist now. So your website is your new receptionist. And so that is the face of your organization in this digital age. And so it needs to be friendly and engaging, and it needs to be super clear on what you do and who you do it for. So if it's not, people are going to press that back button and go find somebody else who's doing it better. So absolutely focus on your differentiators and how you're solving problems for that vertical or for anybody that you're selling to, and speak in their language.
So we just talked about the healthcare industry, and you know, if you did pick that as an industry focus, or manufacturing or food service distribution, anything along that lines, decide how many customers you want by you know, by the end of a certain time period, and kind of work back from there. Once you understand that, make a commitment to those events that you want to attend, and build a budget around that. And, you know, if you don't execute, then, you know, that's going to just delay your new customer acquisition even further. So you just have to, you know, buckle down and make that commitment. The more focused you get, the more you connect with that audience. So you can focus on micro verticals. You know, if we were talking about the healthcare industry, there's skilled nursing facilities, dialysis centers, urgent care facilities. Those would all be considered micro verticals of the healthcare industry. If you're focusing on wealth management companies, family wealth and advisory, Food service, distribution is a whole industry in itself. So things of that nature. So the more focus you get, the more you're going to connect with that audience. And if you back that connection up with your website content, that's critical. So once you understand those target market interests, you just register for those nearest events, engage the attendees in conversation, and it's important to find out what ERP they're using if there's, a prominent industry leader, and, what are their positive, negative experiences with that ERP, and definitely get everyone's business card that you can, collect that database, and then after the event, blog about that newsworthy content that you learned at the event, post that blog to LinkedIn groups and conversations about those events, and refer to the pain of the other solutions, not by name, but frustration points. Describe the problems that you solve for those people that you talk to in your content, your blogs, your website content, and if you're sponsoring the event, definitely have a press release and include your keyword problems that you're solving for in that industry. So when that press release gets syndicated out there, you have all those inbound links coming back from all the press release syndication sites that are coming back to your website about that keyword problem that you're solving for. After you have developed your plan, it's really helpful to follow that plan up with your own events. So holding those lunch and learns that you're hosting, and then you're inviting those people that you met at those events, and then the list that you're building from all your blogging, and maybe you're doing webinars, and you're building your relationships and just reiterating your talent for helping them through their problems. And then maybe you have a lunch and learn where you invite that industry customer that can provide a testimonial about your services, talk about the problems that this customer has solved, and let that customer talk to the audience. Often you can have experts come to these lunch and learns where new potential customers can learn from those compliance experts. So they're going to want to come to the event because they're actually going to get something out of the event that they, would find of value. So, there's revenue recognition experts, there's all kinds of accounting related experts. But if you're focusing on that industry, you know who to invite, you know who your audience is, and you know what that would be engaging for them to hear from an expert. An advantageous thing to do is find those one-to-many community-style websites like ERP VAR or ERP software blog, where you post your blogs there and they go out to a lot more audience than just your own blog. And then those blogs can get shared and liked and commented on, and they just become more popular in the internet because more eyeballs are seeing them, and there are more inbound links coming back to those blogs. So also testimonial blogs. So you want to link your blogs to keywords on your main industry page on your website from wherever you can off of your website on the off page. So that'll be helpful as well. I'm going to go ahead and let you take it away from here, Donna. You're going to talk about the partner marketing experience and partner marketing account managers.
I will. So we're talking about ways that smaller VARs can really succeed. And I know that your partner account manager sometimes at a publisher is who you think of is going to be hounding you for your pipeline and when the deals are going to close, or they're who you go to for a discount on a deal if you want to close it. But they're a lot more than that, or they can be. They absolutely will be, your advocate if you develop a strong relationship with them. And they work with a ton of partners, just like the marketing folks do. We work with a huge audience of partners, so we're aware of a whole lot of other things that are going on that you could leverage. And, my job involves, being proactive about that and going to you. But at PAM, they're probably focused on those deal closings, so they're not going to be serving that up to you. You're going to have to ask, but if you do, I think you're going to get a lot of great information. So leverage that PAM relationship for more than just taking your order and helping you close a deal. You can get advice on, what markets are underserved, how many other partners are working in a certain geography, all kinds of tips and tricks that'll help you spend your next investment more wisely. And then I saw this a lot. I see this a lot now, and I probably was guilty of it when I worked at a VAR, but leverage the tools that all of these publishers and that the internet at large provides to you. There are so many free tools and free content. Acumatica does a really great job. I'm probably a little biased, but as a consumer of Acumatica information up until a year ago, they do a great job of producing a high quality and a high number of pieces of content, and it is so underutilized. I would say the best way to conquer that is schedule time. Schedule 20 minutes out of your week and put it on your calendar. Treat it like any other appointment. Go out there, see what's new, see what's different, and brainstorm on some ideas on how you could repurpose it and use content that's already been created and all the heavy lifting has been optimized. You don't have to worry about anything. You can slap your name and your logo on it and you're done. Next slide. So this was just a little bit of what we're going to cover. You can skip that just on what I'm going to talk about today. So we talked about your website and that it is the face of your organization. So what I see when we go through partner websites, and we did a lot of that this week to see kind of who's doing a great job, who's doing a so-so job. So much of our content is static, and there's a whole lot of words on it. And then you'll see some sites that have all of those generic pictures on it. Really what people who are visiting a website in this day and age, they want something to do, whether it's clicking a button or an option or self-identifying in some way. Yes, I'm a CFO. I know that you're going to talk to me as a CFO. So certainly give them something to do as opposed to just reading content, whether it's buttons that they can push or things to download or videos to watch or some options to self-identify. And look for content that's related to your audience. If you're focusing on a new vertical, you don't need a ton of content and you don't have to create it all yourself. You can leverage either your publisher's content or you can curate content from the web at large and just link to it. Now it does send somebody off of your site, which is not always the best idea, but at least you've got kind of some industry chops there and something for them to do. Adrian talked a little bit about industry experts and forums, and set up alerts. I asked the room out here if they were using Google Alerts to keep up to speed on what is going on in their target industries. Nobody in the room was doing that. So I would highly recommend it. It's free, it's easy, and then in that 20 minutes that you're scheduling every week to leverage content, take a look at your alerts, see what news is going on out there. Put together a newsletter that you're sending out that's on that industry. People will appreciate when you save them time, and this is something that will do that. Content, industry-specific checklists or anything that's industry-specific, say you're in the rental industry and Bob Jones is a real player in the rental industry. Put out a Bob Jones top 3 concerns for rental businesses in today's market. And you don't have to write the content yourself. You can link to it and you have something that only you've got and that industry really wants, and it's endorsed by somebody who they're going to know. It's a simple way to create industry-specific content. Next slide. So when we saw this, I think things got a little out of order here, but one thing that I did want to mention to everybody out there who's a little smaller, I came from a VAR that was 5 people. I spent 5 years there, and it's okay to be small. It's not okay to be static. So there are things that you can do, and we talked about this a little bit, differentiating. We talked a little bit about your website design and content creation. We're going to talk about promotion and measurement shortly, but there's no shame in being small. Everybody was small at one time or another. So it's just you need to evolve with the market, and that's what we're seeing in the channel, that partners are having a really hard time evolving to meet the needs of today's consumer, because we're used to doing it a different way, and we've done it that way for a long time, and to try and change is hard. So we're trying to enable our partner channel, and that's what we're doing through these workshops as well, is to teach them, hey, what does the current buyer want, and how do you go about enacting that in your practice? We can go to the next slide. So Adrian mentioned this, and we mention it a lot in our workshops. You start with the end in mind. If you want so many industry clients by the end of the year or by a quarter, that's going to be where you start your plan. And then you're going to parse out where those leads and opportunities are going to come from. What channel are you going to leverage for that? So for the partner that I used to work at, we had webinars, we had our website, we had referral partners, so CPA firms and IT firms that we had relationships with, where we could use those, leverage those as referral sources to get new business, and it was a super high close rate for those because you really already had an in. We conducted live events, we went to trade shows, we tried to do some thought leadership and get some press. So there's a lot of different pieces to that puzzle. If you're starting with the end with what you want to accomplish and what those numbers are going to be, then you separate them out by how many do you want from your website, how many do you want from webinars, how many do you want from your referral partners. And in order to do that, you're going to need to have some reference points. So you're going to need to know where your leads have historically come from. When I started at this big award-winning partner, they were not big and award-winning when I started there. They couldn't tell me where their leads came from. I asked, and they were like, well, you know, we get a lot of people who refer us because they like what we did and they know us. And so it was a lot of that relationship thing. And there's still a lot of that going on, just the way you go after it is different. So there's a more digital component to that. And in terms of how we advertise and how we put things on our website and how we email, you have to have that language that they're speaking, and you have to have good stories to tell. So, and you have to solve problems. We don't focus on features, and we really don't even focus on benefits anymore, because so many of our solutions, they all have the same benefits. They do a lot of the same things. They're going to save you time. They're going to save you money. They're going to make you more efficient, more productive. Those terms have become worthless because we really expect that from a new system. Those are the minimum. That's the floor. So what else are you going to give me? What other problem that I have as an AP clerk or as an inventory manager do I have that you're going to solve with your expertise and the solution that you're selling me? So if the more you can focus on that and the specificity that you can get to, the better and easier your job's going to be. Next slide, please. So I mentioned before that I've reviewed a ton, thousands of websites. And if I had some recommendations, it would be around colors and your look and feel. You can tell, even if someone's got these old square block menu items on the navigation bar, you can tell that that site is a little older. If they're using maybe some dark blue and a swoop in their logo, I can see that straight from Microsoft 20 years ago, or Great Plains. So look to freshen up your colors and look at getting a new logo. It really does make a difference. And having that modern, responsive design, look and feel that's optimized for mobile. And please, if you do anything, stay away from these stock images. I just had someone who sent a draft over to me this week that had that mountain climbing, somebody's at the top of the mountain, they're reaching their hand down for the next person. And I'm like, okay, we really need to get rid of that mountain image. Anything would be better, because it does not add anything to your story, and it's taking up valuable screen real estate. If you're going to have a picture, make it a picture of somebody at your organization, or make it tell a story. Make it be a visit that you had to a customer, or a screenshot of what you're actually talking about. Use meaningful images. They'll be so much more sticky, and they'll keep people engaged, and they'll subliminally influence them that you know what you're talking about. It's so much more impactful than a generic shaking hands or smiling person in front of a computer. On your website, you want to direct people where you want them to go. So starting with the end in mind, what's your ultimate action for this visitor? Okay, work backwards. How many steps are they going to take? And I would recommend for their ultimate destination, you don't have more than 4 clicks. I think you lose folks after that point, at least in one visit. So walk them back in your plan when you're creating your content plan. All right, if you ultimately want them to request a demo, what 3 steps on your website would they take before that to request a demo? And build your content in an engaging way with actions that they can take to get to that point where they feel comfortable. You remove friction, things that are going to scare them, like sign up, and scary words like that. You're going to more about get more information or learn more, those kind of softer words. You want this logical path for them to take that doesn't have a lot of friction or a lot of gated content for them to take. And you want people to offer them educational information, teach them something they don't know, provide some kind of proof point that they could take to their superiors or their colleagues to show them, hey, I'm gathering all the stuff that you needed me to gather, and we're learning about these solutions. Tips on the process. Nobody likes to search for new software. I'm sorry, it's a pain. And so the easier that we can make it for them, the more appreciative and the more invested they're going to be. And then tools are a fantastic way to keep people on your site and keep them engaged. So if you have a total cost of ownership or a pricing calculator or a how much time will this save you widget, those will be fantastic ways for someone to engage with your site, stay on a little longer, get some more proof that you know what you're talking about, and overall have a better experience. Next slide, please. So these you've probably seen before. I won't spend a ton of time on them, but as you're creating your content for that logical journey that someone's going to take on your website towards the ultimate action, you have to figure out, well, it's good to figure out where they are in the buying journey. Are they top of funnel? Are they just getting started with their search? How can you help them? These are some of the items that would go there. If they're in the middle, they've got some solutions in mind, but they're not sure yet. They're gathering more of the qualitative information about them. These are the things that you would want, guides and webinars and videos. And then when they're making their decision, comparison and proof points are really what are going to make a difference. Next slide. So we talk a lot about content, and one of the single most influential things that the partner I was with had was they had a very, very rich blog, and they got that from their consulting team. And they worked very hard at it to get that information. But what we hear a lot is, well, I don't know what to blog about, and the consultants certainly don't understand that concept most of the time because it's not their job. They're not used to writing about what they do, not for the audience that we're talking about. So if you find yourself in that situation, there are a lot of tools that you can use, and I would highly recommend, well, the blog topic generator. You can put anything in there and it will spit out some absolutely fabulous ideas, and then all you have to do is go and get the information from your team. BuzzSumo, it's at the bottom of this list. They do a great job of providing you with what's trending, so what's most popular, and they rank the solution or the topics, the content that's out there. They rank it by how much engagements it is getting from the different social media. So, and then there's a couple of other tools in here. They're always just a nice starting point, and if you're feeling stuck or if your consultants are pushing back and saying, well, I didn't do anything that was worth writing about, or nothing is new, or it only applies to this one customer, or something like that, you can use one of these tools to come up with some ideas and help them help you. Next slide, please. So once you have your content and you've got some blogs, maybe something to offer, how do you actually get it to your audience? Well, your offer is that something of value that you've got, and your landing page is how they're going to acquire that piece of value. And the elements around a great offer are you communicate that value to them, because no one's going to give you their information if what they're getting doesn't have some perceived value. You're going to want to use those images that we talked about, that maybe a shot. If it's a report, you want a picture of the report. If it's, you want to describe how many pages that report has in it, so that communicates some value. You know, if it's a 3-page report, that's not a whole lot of value. If it's a 23-page report, okay, I may not read all 23 pages, but in my mind, I'm thinking, hey, I'm really getting something. You want to use problem-solving copy. What is that report going to do for you? What does it help you do? If someone else has downloaded this report, or if you have a counter, or if you have experts who are in it, put some social proof around that. Hey, you know, 112 other people have downloaded this report, just like you. So it's one more part of removing that friction, like, oh, I don't know if I want to download this or not. Well, hey.
Donna, did we lose you?
Oh, sorry. I think I bumped my mute on the.
Perfect.
So you want your social proof. If there are experts and others that have downloaded your information, you want to put that on there. And then your action buttons should be something like get my free report, or download your 23-page copy, or something like that, and not just the submit or generic terms like that. Every little piece of this offer helps. Okay, let's go to the next slide. This is a pretty simple one. These are landing page elements. So this is how someone's going to download your asset, your offer, and it should have no other navigation. It should be just all about getting this piece of information from you. So you want a nice strong headline, you want an image that makes sense for what you're giving them, some bullet point benefits, and then the form. And the earlier that you are in the buyer's journey, so if this is the first thing they've clicked on, the fewer pieces of information you should ask for in return. And then as you lead them through the process and they get more invested, you can ask for more pieces of information. And then, as always, you want your call to action with that nice big button of what they're going to get. Next slide, please. All right, content promotion. How do you promote all of this great content that you've created? I've got some general recommendations here, but definitely add it to your signature. If you have something that's really neat that you put a lot of time and effort into, put it in your signature. You interact with a lot of folks every day, and they may forward that to somebody. Social media is underutilized in our industry, I think. So LinkedIn and Twitter, great ways to promote your content, and you can also boost those listings for a very affordable amount. Group websites like ERP VAR and ERP Software Blog are great. Not a lot of folks use Google Ads in our industry, or at the partner level. We use it as a publisher, but I don't think most folks do that. Sponsored posts we talked about, and use ISVs. If you have a complimentary offering that you can do with your ISVs, they will help you to no end to do that. And then there are also some public calendars that are in our industry, and you can probably find them elsewhere for chambers of commerce or trade organizations, associations, if they lend themselves to your industry that you're focusing on, then you can leverage their event calendars and promote your content and your events there too. Next slide. The point that a lot of people forget is around the strategy, or I'm sorry, around the measuring of all of your activities. If you can't measure it, you can't know if it's working. So, and one of the most important things about spending money on marketing is knowing that it's working. I get a ton of questions from the partner channel about how do I know if I'm successful? Well, what did you start out wanting from that activity? So each activity that you have that you're going to use to meet your goals, it needs to have a success metric assigned to it. You need to have something that, okay, is one conversion on my website okay? One person filling out a form a month? Or should it be 10 or 100? So you're never going to know if what you're doing is working if you're not putting some metrics against it, including that plan, and circling back each month or each week or however often you want the cadence to be to see if you're meeting your numbers. Because then you can start to hone your plan and invest in the things that are working and try something different with the money from those that aren't. Next slide, please. Now, in the appendix, I have some top website issues that I come across all the time. The vague language, I have, there's a partner I'm working with right now, and on their homepage, their message to everybody is, raise your digital IQ. And although that's a nice sentence, it doesn't really convey a whole lot about what they do. It doesn't tell you if they sell ERP software. It doesn't tell you what kind of experts they are. It doesn't tell you about an industry. So vague language is your enemy, especially on your homepage. You need to orient people immediately to know what you do. Don't talk about yourself or your product. It's really not about that. You need to talk in their terms and solve their problems. Too much or too little text. So too much and no one's ever going to read it and it looks clunky. Too little and Google's not going to like it and people don't have enough to do on your site. I see people trying to be clever all the time and I'm very apologetic, but clarity trumps clever all the time. If you find you're having to try too hard, then it's not working. Contact information. Your contact information should be on every single page. I know it's a little bit of an old school mentality, but I know as a consumer, when I go looking for something, I want to know where you are in this physical world. I want to know what state you're in, and I want to know how to reach you if I need you. Email, text, chat, whatever it happens to be. Using bold colors is fine. I would say that psychologically, red still means stop to a lot of people, so use that sparingly. Acumatica makes this error, I think, a little bit, and we're revising our website, but we have a lot of choices. There's a lot of information on our site, and when your site gets too busy, visitors get confused, and you don't want a confused visitor. You want a very clear path for them to follow. So if you've got too many choices, you're trying to do too much. I had someone ask me in class, well, I have 4 different product lines and 3 different publishers, and I serve a whole lot of people. How do I create a website that addresses all of that? And my answer is, well, who do you want more of? Out of all of those things that you do, there's got to be some people in there, some customers you really don't want, some that don't rebuy, some that don't spend money, some that are more work than they're worth, some product lines that are really difficult to deal with the publisher. There's lots of issues. So figure out, who do you want more of? What's your ideal customer? Who's the ones that are super friendly, that you like visiting, that continue to spend money and view you as a trusted advisor? And then write your website copy to get more like those. Meaningless images, we talked about that. And then the last thing for me is having old dates on your website. So if your copyright's from 2016, or if your last blog post was last year, I'm going to get the impression that you're not current. And I don't want a technology partner that's not current. You know, other industries might be able to get away with it, but in technology, timing really does matter and recency matters. Next slide, please. These are just some resources that I've compiled that we've seen maybe in a couple other webinars, but I can't say enough good things about leveraging the free tools. And not all of these are free, but a lot of them have a free version. And I would recommend highly that you take a look at them and investigate and see what you could leverage. We don't ask you to do everything, and certainly in these workshops that we're doing right now, we tell people we cover a lot. We get that. We have 115 things you could do when you get back to your office. We don't want you to do that. Do one. Take one out of all of these recommendations and try it out. Test it out. See how you can advance your marketing strategy. Next slide, please. Those are a couple more registration tools and ways to keep your life organized. Next slide. And then these are learning resources that I use all the time. SEMrush and Ahrefs and Udemy and HubSpot. Tons of good information if you want to learn about something that you don't know well, like if you want to learn how to do video marketing, you're not an expert. There's a lot of great free information, training that you can leverage for free or no money. Next slide, please. And then these are marketing folks that I follow to keep up on what's new and different and happening and get advice. Just wanted to share those. Next slide. And I'll kick it back over to you, Adrian.
Thank you so much, Donna. Some great information there. I wanted to announce that Mark Roothouse is the inside sales account manager over at Acumatica. So if you're exploring adding a new ERP to your portfolio, we recommend that you reach out to Mark. He'd love to talk to you about how much of a fit or what degree Acumatica might be a fit for your business. And I do want to let Sarita talk about an offer that she has. Sarita, are you still with us?
Yes, I am. Hello, everyone. It's been a great webinar today. Just wanted to let anyone that's on this call, if you are a prospective VAR considering Acumatica as a choice publisher that you're looking to join, we have a special offer for you. As everyone may or may not know, we have our Acumatica Summit coming up in January. And so for attending the webinar today and also next month, we are entering everyone's names that if you are qualified as a prospective VAR, you will be entered into our contest drawing to receive a Summit 3-day pass, which is valued at $995. It's an amazing contest. So it's only for prospective VARs. So while you're there, just so you know, the summit's going to be taking place at the Cosmopolitan Hotel in Vegas. So we're very excited about that. Our leadership team will be there. You'll have an opportunity to network and make a lot of great business connections, as well as learn about our new innovation that's launching for Acumatica products, as well as join in on some of the exciting keynote sessions. So please, please, please just stay tuned. We'll be making an announcement on or before December the 20th. So very excited to share that with everyone.
Thank you, Sarita. And I do have a poll I'd like to launch. If you can take a second to answer this poll, that would be awesome. And then also, if the audience had any questions out there, it's great that we have Donna and Sarita on the line with us. So if you had any questions about the Acumatica Partner Program, Acumatica Joint Marketing Funds, this would be a great time to ask those kinds of questions. And the level of assistance that you get when you're coming on board with Acumatica. Donna, could you just talk a little bit about the key differentiators you've seen from a marketing perspective in regard to Acumatica and what vertical markets it really, leads the competition in?
So we have a couple of partners that are focusing on the cannabis industry. So, and that's been very, very helpful to that industry. We have a partner that's focusing on nurseries, so plant nurseries, which is kind of, tangential to the cannabis industry. We have a heavy rental presence in partners. And so if you're looking at key differentiators for any of those, it's not really about the product, it's really about the partner. So the product will do the things that the customer needs it to do. It's the partner who brings that expertise in during the deployment process to make sure that they're telling you about what's new and different in the industry and how you can make the software work for you and get time back in your day. I'm not sure exactly where that question was going or what they're looking for, but that's what I'm seeing so far. I mean, we mentioned durable goods distribution, and knowing that as a broad audience in that market, that people are looking at, how many times they turn over their inventory and how can you speed that process up and how can you enable your field service team to have up-to-date numbers so they can take orders in the field and know what's on stock and what's not, and place reorders and that kind of thing. So that's probably what I see most right now. But in all honesty, we don't have a ton of partners who are focusing on industries. We're just starting to see folks make those turns now.
And can you glean on anything from just the channel community as a whole, what they like about Acumatica, why so many partners are adding that to their ERP portfolio and running with Acumatica? Is there any one narrative or a couple narratives that you're hearing?
Well, it's funny. I'll tell you something that we just heard it during this workshop. There's a partner. It's a big partner, and they just hired a new salesperson, and she comes from the Microsoft world. And so when she was being onboarded, they were talking about how they represent Microsoft and they represent Acumatica. And this new salesperson, she was like, oh, I don't want any part of that Acumatica stuff. I'm just going to be focusing on Microsoft. And so then 2 weeks later, the VP of sales went out to visit this person in the field and was talking, and she said, you know what, I have to take something back. I looked at Acumatica and I've been using the product and it is fantastic. Coming from a Microsoft world, Business Central, I have to use Jet Reports and Power BI and PandaDoc. I have to use 3 of those products just to get the reporting capabilities that come out of the box in Acumatica. So in 2 weeks, on her own initiative, she is a convert from spending 10 years in the Microsoft channel and working with Business Central. Like, I'm not saying anything bad about Business Central. It's just a difference in you need to purchase 3 add-on products to get the same functionality that you can get out of the box with Acumatica, which is nice. I mean, as a partner, that's a story I can tell, and that's going to resonate with people, because reporting is one of those areas that a lot of people have some really serious requirements around. And so knowing that it's pretty strong and pretty robust out of the box is a good thing.
And I am going to share the results of our poll. So it looks like we've got 44% interested in learning more about the partner program, and 11% about joint marketing services. And we might want to run with a little bit more webinars, Donna, just for future, for key differentiators. That looks like it won out.
Yeah.
And then the functionality and the verticals. So once again, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And just if you have any last minute questions, there's a question mark right next to your name on the webinar pane. And if you click on that, a dialog box will open up where you can key in your question. I did record this webinar. I will be sending out a copy of the presentation out to everyone who registered, so be looking out for that. That'll come from Adrian at erpvar.com. And the reason why we're on the call with Acumatica today is because we've helped them since 2013 in building their partners in recruitment. Started with Don Jager way back when, and it's been such a pleasure working with you guys. And thank you so much for your support and everybody coming to these webinars. And we hope to see you on a future webinar. Everybody enjoy the rest of your day. Donna, did you have any closing comments?
No, thank you very much for the time, and we'll put together some content based on this poll. I love it. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, guys. Everybody have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.